You know that moment when you're at a party and suddenly you realize everyone else found someone to leave with, and you're the last one standing there? The music's still playing, the room's still lit, but it feels empty. You're holding a warm drink, staring at the leftovers, and it hits you. You've been abandoned without a word. That exact feeling? That's what most men are living through every single day. Not at a party, not in a crowd, but in their own relationships. She's still there, sitting right next to you on the couch. But the spark's gone. Her laugh doesn't sound the same. Her eyes don't light up when she looks at you. And the silence between you feels louder than any argument. You haven't been dumped, but you've been left. And here's the part that stings. You didn't lose her to another man. You lost her one small surrender at a time, canceling plans, apologizing for nothing, bending every time she pushed. And with each weak response, her respect for you died a little more. But tonight, I'm going to give you the words, the exact words, that flip this entire script. Words that cut through the lies, strip away the crown she built for herself, and wake up the man she's been silently begging to meet. Stay with me, because once you hear them, you'll never look at women, or yourself, the same way again. Most men can't even pinpoint the moment it all started. In the beginning, you were untouchable, confident, alive. You had a purpose, friends and passions that made you magnetic. She looked at you like you were the storm every other man wished he could be, and you believed it because it was true. But somewhere along the line, you started trading pieces of yourself away, not in a dramatic collapse, but in small, quiet cuts. You canceled plans with your boys to avoid an argument. You skipped the gym because she rolled her eyes when you said you were going. You started rearranging your life around hers, convincing yourself it was compromise. But compromise slowly turned into surrender. Then the apologies crept in. At first, they were for small things. Being late, forgetting to call. But soon, you were apologizing for breathing too loud, for laughing at the wrong moment, for existing in ways that made her uncomfortable. And the craziest part? You told yourself this was proof of love, that this was what commitment looked like. But let me break it to you. That wasn't love. That was self-destruction. Every time she pushed and you bent, you didn't win her over. You killed her respect. Every time you failed one of her tests, you didn't save the relationship. You buried it deeper in the ground. Because at her core, beneath all the Instagram quotes and modern dating cliches, she doesn't want control. She doesn't want to lead. She wants to feel the gravity of your strength. And every time you showed her the opposite, every time you proved you were soft clay she could mold however she liked, a piece of her attraction died. Look at her now. Watch the way she walks around you, the way she talks to you, the way she looks at you, or doesn't. You used to be the center of her world. Now you're background noise, furniture, a credit card with legs. And the higher her crown rises, the smaller you become. Until eventually, you're not her partner anymore. You're her subject. And the sick truth? She doesn't just lose interest. She starts to resent the man you allowed yourself to become. Here's where it gets darker. Women rarely come out and say, "I'm testing you." Instead, it happens in small, almost invisible ways. She teases you in front of her friends. She demands something unreasonable, just to see if you'll fold. She pokes at you, waiting for resistance. And when you give in, when you hand her exactly what she asked for, she doesn't feel loved. She feels let down. That's the paradox. The more she tests you, the weaker most men become. Each jab takes a chip out of your backbone. Each little surrender erodes the image of the man she once admired. Over time, the strong, confident version of you is replaced by a hollow shell. A guy who says yes to everything because saying no feels too dangerous. And here's the brutal reality. She doesn't thank you for it. She doesn't admire you for it. She begins to despise you for it. She hates that you've grown weak, even though her own tests are what drained you. She hates that you keep failing, even though she set you up to fail. She hates the watered-down version of you, because it's not the man she wanted, it's the man she created. It's a vicious cycle. The more she pushes, the more you bend. The more you bend, the more she pushes. Until one day she wakes up, rolls over, and wonders why she can't stand the man lying next to her. It's like standing in line at the DMV for hours. At first, you're irritated. You tap your foot, you check the clock. But eventually, the frustration fades, and you just accept the misery. You convince yourself, this is normal. Everyone deals with this. That's what most men do in relationships. They see other couples smiling in public and think, behind closed doors, every guy must be going through the same hell. Wrong. Dead wrong. Because some men break the cycle. Some men learn the words that shut the whole game down cold. And once you know those words, once you see how they flip her reality upside down, you'll never fall for the same traps again. Because it's not your anger that kills her respect. It's not your flaws. It's not your mistakes. It's your weakness. And the only thing that rebuilds her respect is your strength. So what's the first phrase that slices through her ego like a knife? It's not shouting. It's not name-calling. It's something far colder, far sharper, telling her she's ordinary. And the way you say it is what makes it devastating. Not angry, not sarcastic, calm, matter of fact. Like you're just pointing out the weather. You look her in the eyes and say, "When we first met, I thought you were different. I thought you were special. But the truth is, you're just like every other woman I've known. Same insecurities, same games, same drama. Predictable." That single phrase hits deeper than anything else. Why? Because every woman carries a secret belief. I'm not like the others. She thinks she's unique. She thinks she's the exception. She thinks she's the one who's going to rewrite your story. And when you strip that away, when you show her she's just another actress reading from the same tired script, it doesn't bruise her ego. It cracks it wide open. I watched this play out once outside a restaurant. A couple was arguing. She was yelling about how he didn't see her worth, how he didn't appreciate her uniqueness. Most men would have argued back, desperate to prove they cared. But this guy, he stayed calm, almost bored, and said, "Special? You're repeating exactly what my ex used to say, word for word. It's like you all follow the same playbook." She didn't just go quiet. She went silent, like her brain short-circuited. For the first time, she had to face a reality she'd been running from, that she wasn't the star of the movie. She wasn't the exception. She was just another extra in a story she thought she was directing. And that's the power of calling her ordinary. Because her deepest fear isn't rejection. It isn't even betrayal. Her deepest fear is being forgettable. And when you make her realize she's not the once-in-a-lifetime woman she thought she was, when you take away the illusion of being different, her crown doesn't just slip, it starts to crumble. If telling her she's ordinary cracks the mirror, the second weapon smashes the frame it sits in. And it's so simple most men overlook it. Indifference. Complete, unshakable indifference whenever she threatens to leave. Picture this. She crosses her arms and says, "Maybe I should just walk out." Most men panic. They beg. They promise to change. They cling to her like she's oxygen. But the man who understands the game, he shrugs and says, "If that's what you want, the door's right there." Calm, cold, final. She says, "I need space." You don't chase. You don't argue. You don't spiral into panic. You smile and reply, "Take all the time you need. I've got things to do anyway." She drops her favorite bomb. "My ex has been texting me." She expects jealousy. She expects rage. She expects drama. Instead, you laugh. That's nice. Maybe you two should catch up. Why does this work? Because every threat she throws at you is built on the same foundation, that you're terrified of losing her. The moment you show her you're not, her entire power structure collapses. It's like she's been sitting at a poker table, convinced she's holding a royal flush, and you reveal you weren't even playing the same game. I remember one guy who lived this perfectly. His girlfriend tried the classic line, "I think we should see other people." Now, that line is usually bait. She wanted him to beg, to fight for her, to prove his love. But he didn't flinch. He just smiled and said, "That's a great idea. There's someone I've been meaning to ask out. Thanks for making this easy." Her reaction? Priceless. She froze. She stammered. She tried to take it back. She said she didn't really mean it, that it was just a test to see if he cared. In one moment, he flipped her entire script on its head. That's the brutal beauty of indifference. It takes the weapon she thought was unbeatable, your fear of loss, and turns it into her greatest weakness. And when she realizes you don't need her validation, her approval, or even her presence, that's when the crown starts slipping right off her head. If indifference dismantles her threats, the third weapon strikes at the very core of her identity, her sexuality. Because deep down, every woman believes this is her superpower, the ace up her sleeve, the one thing that makes her untouchable in your life. But here's the nuclear truth. When you strip that illusion away, her ego doesn't bruise, it detonates. And the way you do it is key. Not with cruelty, not with insults, but with casual, almost careless honesty. Something like, "Honestly, the physical part of our relationship has always been just okay. I've had deeper, more passionate connections before. But hey, not everyone is exceptional in that area." Then you move on. Calm. Neutral. Like you just mentioned the weather. That's when it lands. Not immediately. Not in an angry outburst. But in silence. She goes quiet. Processing. Because for the first time, someone called out the fear she's been hiding all along. That maybe she isn't extraordinary in bed. That maybe she's ordinary. Replaceable. Forgettable. I remember one guy who told me his story. His girlfriend had been weaponizing intimacy for months, using it to control him. One night, fed up, he looked at her and said, "You know what? It's never been that great anyway." Then he went back to scrolling his phone. No fight, no drama, just truth. Her reaction? Not rage, not denial. She froze, silent, because in that moment, the power she thought made her untouchable evaporated. The nuclear weapon she believed she had was revealed to be nothing more than a toy gun. And that's why this works. These aren't attacks. They're not cheap shots. They're antibiotics for a relationship infected with manipulation. You don't use them when things are good. You don't drop them to hurt her. You use them when she's been using her arsenal against you, when she's been testing, threatening, and playing games. That's when the truth becomes your sharpest weapon, because nothing shakes her more than realizing the one power she thought guaranteed control was never real to begin with. By now, the pattern is clear. Every move she makes assumes you'll fight, defend, or beg. But the moment you stop playing by her script, the whole act collapses. And one of the fastest ways to flip it back on her is with the comparison game. See, women are masters of comparison. She'll point at her friend's boyfriend and say he's more romantic. She'll scroll Instagram and complain that other couples look happier. She'll watch some Hollywood movie and suddenly decide your relationship isn't exciting enough. Most men defend themselves here. They explain, they justify, they try to prove they measure up. And that's the trap. The strong man? He flips the script. He says, "Funny, Jake's girlfriend never whines about guys' night. Sarah doesn't throw tantrums when she doesn't get her way. Maybe I picked the wrong type of woman. Silence. Instant silence. Because she only likes the comparison game when she's winning. The second the mirror turns, her crown slips. But if comparison cuts her, the agreement method breaks her completely. She lashes out. Maybe I should find someone who appreciates me. The weak man begs. No, baby. I do appreciate you. Please don't leave. The strong man nods and says, You're right. You deserve someone who makes you happy, and clearly that's not me. I'll help you pack. She spits. You're not a real man. He shrugs. True. A real man wouldn't put up with this behavior. Thanks for pointing that out. She sighs. The spark is gone. He agrees. I felt the same. Maybe we should end this before we waste more time. And that's why it works. Because her attacks aren't real statements. They're tests disguised as declarations. If you defend, you fail. If you agree, she crashes into her own momentum. It's like she threw a punch expecting resistance, and you stepped aside, letting her fall flat on the floor. Remember that viral clip? A woman screaming at her man in a crowded mall, calling him pathetic, weak. Everyone thought he'd argue back, make a scene. Instead, he nodded and said, You're right. I am pathetic for putting up with this. That ends today. Then he walked away. No shouting, no fight, just gone. And the internet exploded. Men cheered, women fumed. But one thing was clear. It was the first time people saw a man handle it perfectly. If the agreement method flips her frame, the next move erases it entirely. And it's the one she never sees coming. You don't just survive without her, you thrive. You show her you're happier once she's gone. Most women expect leaving to be a punishment. They picture you broken, sitting alone, drowning in regret. They think they're the sun in your universe, and without them, your world collapses. But when she leaves and your world shines brighter, that's when her entire reality shatters. She says she needs space. You don't chase. You don't blow up her phone. You don't stalk her socials at 2 a.m. You smile and say, Take it. I've got plans anyway. Then you live. And not just live. You live better. You reconnect with the friends she called bad influences. You dive back into hobbies she mocked as childish or a waste of time. You laugh louder. You walk taller. You glow in ways she hasn't seen in years. And here's the twist she can't handle. She expected her absence to feel like torture. Instead, it feels like freedom. She thought she was your crown jewel. Instead, she realizes she was just a shadow blocking your light. Psychologists call this an existential crisis because the core of her self-worth was built on the belief that she was essential to your happiness. And now, you've proven she was never essential at all. And this pattern is so predictable, it's almost science. She storms out dramatically, expecting you to chase. You don't. She sees you online, smiling, thriving. Suddenly, she invents an emergency to pull you back in. You don't respond. She shows up to grab her things she doesn't even need. You're polite, calm, distant. And then, like clockwork, she whispers, Can we talk about us? Because nothing rattles her more than realizing the man she thought she could break is better without her. The crown she thought she wore, gone. The game she thought she controlled, over. And for the first time, she's not sure she ever really had you at all. By now you might be asking yourself, why do women even do this? Why all the tests, the games, the chaos? And here's the truth most men never hear. It's not calculated. It's not even conscious. It's instinct. Just like a scorpion stings or a bird builds a nest, women test. That's what they do. But here's the twist most men miss. Unlike the scorpion, women secretly want you to avoid the sting. Every test she throws at you is really a hidden message, a plea, a challenge. What she's really saying is, please be strong enough that I don't have to be. Please see through this so I can finally respect you. And science backs this up. A study out of Stockholm followed couples in conflict. When men stayed calm, when they didn't react to emotional outbursts, women's stress levels dropped faster than when men tried to comfort them. Think about that. Her biology literally calms down when you don't get pulled into the storm. Her body is screaming, finally, a man who won't break. Wah. That's the real secret. The most powerful position in any relationship isn't loving more or loving less. It's needing less. Because the man who needs less sets the frame. He doesn't bend under pressure. He doesn't crumble when tested. He always keeps the crown. And here's why that matters. When you truly don't need her approval, her validation, or even her presence, you become irreplaceable. Every guy before you needed something from her. Attention, reassurance, intimacy. You're the first who doesn't. And that makes you stand out. That makes you the prize. But here's where most men sabotage themselves. They mistake vulnerability for strength. They spill their insecurities, confess their fears, cry about their struggles. And what happens? Attraction evaporates. Not because she's cruel, but because she just saw the rock she wanted to lean on crumble into sand. The protector she needed turned into someone who needed protecting. That's why the man who needs less always wins. Because to her, strength isn't about money, muscles, or bravado. It's about being unshakable when she tests you. And when you pass those tests by standing firm, she finally feels safe enough to give you the respect she's been withholding. I've seen it happen too many times. A man thinks opening up, pouring out his pain, and exposing his wounds will pull her closer. He believes vulnerability equals intimacy. But instead of bonding, something darker happens. She starts to pull away. Fast. Because the moment you show her the protector needs protecting, she can't lean on you anymore. You're no longer the rock. You're quicksand. I remember a guy who confessed his depression to his girlfriend. He thought it would prove trust. 2 weeks later, she was texting her ex. A month later, she was gone. And when asked why, she told a friend, "I just couldn't see him as a man anymore after that." Harsh? Yes. But it's reality. Women don't want to be your therapist. They want a man strong enough to hold it together so they can fall apart when needed. And that's why the mirror method is so powerful. Whatever energy she gives you, you reflect it right back. If she's distant, you're more distant. If she's cold, you're colder. If she disrespects you, you dismiss her. If she threatens to leave, you've already left emotionally. It's not about being petty. It's about balance. It's about showing her every action has a consequence. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. And here's the part that drives men crazy. Women rewrite history. They erase every sacrifice you ever made. Every time you bent over backwards. Every compromise. Gone. But the one time you said no, that gets etched in stone forever. In her feelings, you've always been the villain, and she's always been the victim. That's why defending yourself is pointless. Logic won't save you here. Facts don't matter. She's not arguing reality. She's arguing emotion. And in her emotional world, you're already guilty. But when you mirror her, you don't explain. You don't justify. You don't beg. You simply reflect her back to herself. And in doing so, you strip away the crown she thought she wore, because nothing unsettles her more than seeing her own behavior turned against her. The real power move isn't acting like you're fine without her. It's actually being fine, thriving, smiling bigger, living louder. Because pretending is still neediness in disguise. But genuine happiness without her? That's when the crown doesn't just tilt, it vanishes. And here's the truth nobody dares to say. These so-called weapons aren't tricks. They aren't manipulations. They're just reality spoken out loud. You're not lying when you say she's replaceable. She is. There are billions of women on this planet. You're not bluffing when you show her you don't fear losing her. Why would you fear losing someone who's been draining you? And when you glow brighter without her, you're not acting. You're free. But here's why most men never reach this stage. They've been programmed since birth. Movies, songs, culture, all repeating the same poison. Love means pain. Suffering proves it's real. Jealousy is passion. Control is devotion. Drama is normal. So men keep shrinking themselves, calling it sacrifice. They keep erasing themselves, calling it love. Until one day, there's nothing left. But not every man plays along. I knew one who discovered his wife had been trashing him to her friends for years. She called him weak, boring, said she could do better. Most men would have begged, argued, fought to prove her wrong. Not him. He looked her in the eyes and said, "You're right. You can do better. And so can I. Let's both upgrade." The next day, he filed for divorce. And here's the twist. 6 months later, she was begging to come back. Suddenly, she was the perfect wife she never was when she had him. That's the pattern. Women only value what they might lose. They only respect what doesn't need them. They only chase what walks away. It's not cruelty. It's not even conscious. It's biology. The same reason a cat ignores a toy that sits still, but loses its mind when that toy moves away. That's what attraction really is. That's what respect really is. And if you let her take without limits, if you let her test without boundaries, the water will flood and drown you both. Because in the end, this was never about tearing her down. It was always about reclaiming your crown. And once you wear it again, you'll see the truth clearly. She never wanted the throne. She only wanted to know you were strong enough to keep it. Here's the truth most men never face. The words women fear the most are the exact words they need to hear. Because a woman with unchecked power, with a crown so heavy it blinds her, isn't fulfilled. She's restless. She's bored. She's stuck in a kingdom she built, but with no king strong enough to stand beside her. And deep down, she hates it. She doesn't want a servant. She doesn't want a pet. She doesn't even want a man who bends over backwards to keep her happy. She wants a man who stands tall when she pushes, who doesn't flinch when she tests, who doesn't crumble when she storms. And when you finally knock that crown off her head, not with cruelty, but with truth, you don't just save yourself. You save her too. You save her from becoming the monster that unchecked power creates. You save her from the emptiness of being with a man she cannot respect. But here's the tragedy. Most men will never do it. They'll nod along to everything I've said. They'll agree with every word. And then they'll go right back to apologizing for things they didn't do. Back to walking on eggshells. Back to shrinking themselves just to keep the peace. And every single day, they'll die a little more inside. Because weakness doesn't preserve love. Weakness destroys it. Do you know what her greatest fear really is? It's not you leaving. It's you staying, but not needing her anymore. It's you sitting next to her and feeling nothing. Not anger, not passion, not jealousy, just nothing. Because that's when her power is truly gone. That's when the crown doesn't just slip, it disappears. So the choice is yours. Push the button, and tomorrow you wake up a man who speaks the truth without apology, who stands tall no matter her reaction, who reclaims his crown. Or don't push it. Keep living as an extra in her one-woman show. Keep forgetting you were supposed to be the star of your own life. Remember this: she doesn't fear losing you. She fears you not fearing losing her. She doesn't fear your anger. She fears your indifference. She doesn't fear your lies. She fears your truth. And the moment you choose truth over fear, that's the day the crown returns to its rightful place. On your head.